I've scaled 3 businesses to well over $1 million per year. My first at 21, my second at 25, and my third at 27. And in this video, I'm going to break down the complete operating framework that I've used to not only start, but scale and build these companies so that you can steal it for yourself and apply it to grow your own business. So without further ado, let's get into the operating system. All right, so now that we're here inside of Miro, we're going to kick it off with the business model itself. Now, what you need to understand about the model that you're in is your path forward and your growth trajectory is going to look completely different depending on what your model is. So it matters a lot in terms of your end outcome as well, whether you tend to grow your business for cash flow or you intend to sell your business one day. All of these are going to provide a programmatically different outcome. Let's get into the 3 popular models that you're probably in right now or considering. So we got direct to consumer, physical products, things like that, selling them online, good model from a scalability perspective, but you got advertising cost, you got inventory, you got low margins, customer acquisition, really expensive. You have to be really, really good marketer to make this model work. One-time purchase unless things are consumable, but you do have good exit potential here. So that's, one of the upsides of this model. Now, B2B services, this is where I've made all of my money throughout my career up to this point is in higher ticket services. So how do I sell someone a 2K, 5K, 10K a month service, 100K a month service over time and have that recurring revenue continue to come in? Also, businesses have money and they have pain points, right? As companies grow, new problems arise, and we'll talk about that here in a minute, but understand that this is a very consistent model that you can run with and see success with. So big fan of B2B services, and recurring revenue is kind of built in as a function. So you don't have to go and acquire a ton of new customers every month to continue to compound this and grow it to multiple millions a year. Then you have software as a service, requires technical skills, a lot of upfront development costs, long development cycles, and not a great beginner friendly model because you have to be really, really good at marketing, really good at product, really good at team to make this work, potentially even raising money. So another skill set in itself, and really has more complexity built into it. So more difficult for that reason. From there, no matter what model you're in right now, you have to find alignment, right? And what do I mean by alignment? Well, you have to have a group of people that believes in the mission or the product or the service enough to come together and actually build a solution. So what do I mean by that? Well, we need to assemble some sort of team. And in the beginning, it might just be you, or you might have a co-founder, or you might have a couple business partners, or you might have a couple of employees out of the gate. Everyone's situation's a little bit different. But what we need to do regardless is align everyone around a common goal, right? And so this is the 1-page impact plan that we use with our clients. And it's fantastic for really planning out the next phases of growth and your business as a whole. So starting with the end in mind, we've got business end game, right? What do we want to do with this thing? Is it cash flow play? Is it a exit play? Like, what are we actually building? Then we have our W4 positioning. Why is someone going to work with us? What are we selling them? Who are they? Things like that. Then we have our core values, right? What set of values do we operate our business with as a company, right? So these could be integrity. This could be, high motivation. This could be high energy. This could be whatever sort of cultural elements you want to have within your organization that you personally relate to as a founder and can carry the flag on. Then we have our vision. Where do we want to be 10 years from now? What are the things we need to conquer every day to carry out that vision, make sure that happens? And then what are our yearly and quarterly projections from a revenue standpoint, along with what do we need to do in the next 30 days to make sure that we're moving toward that goal? And these items will be reset every single month so that we know we are always moving toward the next phase of progress. And it distills down into, 2 or 3 things that, hey, if we do nothing else as a group, the business is going to grow. And that's really what we're after with these impact items. Now, the next step of this is we actually have to understand who's doing what, right? So if it's just you, congratulations, you are doing all of it at the start. But if you have partners or team or things like that, then, you're going to have some leverage built in because other people can handle things for you and, take some of that load. So this is where the org chart comes into place, and the amount of companies that are even fairly mature that don't have a formal org chart, along with, who people are, what they do, what the reporting structure is, how all of that works is pretty crazy to me. But it makes things so much simpler when you have this in place because there's no questions around who owns what. So build this org chart out, and basically you can see who reports to who, what data are they going to bring to the table, what are the things that they're responsible for carrying forward each and every day. And you're also going to get owners for these 30-day impact items, right? So those things that you said, hey, these are going to grow the business. We all agreed on it. Here's who's going to do it. Cool. Then we can move on. Now, to have a good team, you need to have good incentives, right? Charlie Munger says, show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. So what do incentives look like? Well, obviously, if you're a founder or you have business partners, you're all on the cap table. So the outcome is automatically aligned. But as you scale your business, you're going to have people who are non-equity partners that you need to incentivize and make sure that their vision kind of fits inside your vision and that they can do super well as well. Do you think a top person is going to come work for you if they don't have the potential to make the money they want to make? Probably not. So how do we design incentives at a high level to make sure that we can attract the level of talent that we want and keep them long term? Well, I like to incentivize across a few different things, like influencing gross profit, influencing acquiring customers, or incentivizing, influencing, keeping and ascending, or upselling current customers. Now you'll notice all of this is around growing or keeping revenue because those are the positions within the company that no matter what model you run are critical to have. So that is why these are the three primary ones. There's tons of different things you can incentivize on, but it's mostly going to be around these three, especially if you're in B2B services like I am. So for example, let's just say I have a line of business here, i.e. a pod or a group of clients, and a team member supports that group of clients. Well, I'm going to have the client name, the retainer price sold, the gross revenue, all of that here, along with the profitability of that specific group of clients, right? So what are the team members? What are the salaries that need to go into supporting that revenue or generating that revenue? That's going to go here. And I'm going to work out from here a bonus structure as a percentage of the gross profit. If you're not familiar with gross profit, revenue minus cost of goods sold, gross profit. Cost of goods sold being everything it costs you to actually go ahead and deliver the product or service to your end customer, right? So I can give them a percentage of the upside, and they are continuously incentivized to grow that percentage of the upside. Cool. So moving on from here, once we have the incentive and we have the team, we need a group of processes that are actually going to carry, this progress forward, right? Because if you have people, but you have no process, you're going to have chaos, right? So we're huge on building process in each department of the business. So we have marketing, sales, HR, finance, operations, product or fulfillment. All of these lanes should have unique processes to them. So as you can see here inside of our business, we're a consulting firm. So you can see inside of our company Wikipedia, which I recommend that you have no matter what kind of business you run, we have a bunch of processes here that if anyone is curious on how to do a specific function within the company, they can come here and take a look at it and learn how to do it without disrupting communication or asking people questions that they've already answered in a video or a training, which once again hurts efficiency. And it also helps to onboard new team members seamlessly and get them up to speed and producing ROI for your company when they can come in, train on processes and get plugged in and not just be plugged into kind of a black box and expected to perform, right? So this process or this knowledge base, huge to have. So no matter what you do, what you make, what you sell, you need to have processes and SOPs for each department of the business. And these could be in the form of flowcharts. These could be process maps, but you basically need to make sure everything is packaged up. And this gives you the power to delegate and continue to scale your company and focus on your zone of genius as a founder as to what is going to deliver the most ROI. So now that we have the process down, what we are going to need to do. So now that we have the processes down, and all of this is systemized on how we deliver the end product to our customer, we need a way to measure our data. And business is really a game of inputs, going through a process and getting the end output, right? So in every department, right, we got leads in, we got a marketing process or a lead nurture process, we got a sales process, and out the other end, we get a customer, hopefully, right? Same thing goes for once we have a customer, we put them through our fulfillment process, and then yay, customer gets dream outcome, tells all our friends about it, and gives us referrals and grows our business. Something like that, right? You get the idea. So once we have data on how these inputs, processes, and outputs are performing, we can then diagnose what we need to solve next within the business to get it to grow to the next level, which brings me to data tracking. So here, this is a dashboard that we use for our private clients at Hydra, where I can get a snapshot into every single thing that their business is doing from a revenue, sales, marketing, fulfillment, and labor related perspective. And I can take one look at the sheet and instantly know where the bottleneck is in the organization to get them to scale to the next level. So pretty cool stuff, because a lot of times people aren't sure where their constraint or where their bottleneck is within the business. And they're like, what decision do I make? How should I progress? And tracking the data really solves all of that. The problem is this is something that people neglect or just don't look at overall. So we got total revenue, total cost of goods sold, gross profit, MRR, net profit. How many calls are we booking? What are our sales activities? What close rates are we looking at? Then marketing related, how many new calls are we booking? How many new opportunities are we getting our hands on each and every month? Fulfillment related, how many clients did we churn? How much revenue did we churn? And then labor related, how many employees do we have on staff? What are the monthly salaries? That way I can see if anything is off base and say, yep, this is the issue that we need to drill into and solve next. So from the data, we get a new bottleneck or new problem that arises out of the process. And really it comes down to, if we solve for X, the business is going to grow, right? And that's really the question and the statement that we want to get down to from this data. Then we need to apply leverage to solve the issue. Now, what do I mean by leverage? Well, leverage in business typically comes from four things, right? We got capital, code, media, and labor. So what do I mean by each of these? Well, capital is pretty straightforward, money, right? And the question I really want to ask here is, do we need to spend our way out of the problem or spend to get to our goal, right? Do we need to invest in things? And what do we need to invest in to make that happen? Sometimes it is just a function of, okay, we put more money in, we get more money out. That is a great business to have, because every dollar you put in, you're going to get 3 or 4 back. That's fantastic. The next form of leverage is code, right? And this is really where AI and software comes into the equation of like, okay, can we automate our way out of the problem? Or can we find a tool that solves this problem for us? This is a form of leverage and allows us to do things at a lot greater scale and a lot quicker than we would have been able to before, right? So this is like N8N right here. I use this to make ad creatives for us. I can make 10 at a time instead of 1 ad creative at a time on the static ad side. So once again, a form of code and a form of leverage that's only going to get more prominent as the years go on. Then we have media, right? This is a meta ad right here that is booking calls for us right now. And media is really, can we grow our way out of the problem, right? Do we need to distribute more content, more media, more ads, get more customers? And really the question is, can we grow our way out of the problem, right? So that's what we're asking ourselves when we wonder if media can solve that. Then we have labor, lastly, right? And you need great people to do great things. And this is really where it comes down to, do I have the team to solve this problem, or do I need to go find someone new who can solve this problem, right? And you don't always need to know how a problem gets solved. You just need to know what the problem is. So if we solve for X, the business will grow. Well, I don't know how to solve for X. Well, I'll tell you what, there's someone out there that does know how to solve for X. You just need to find them and ask them the question, potentially bring them on your team. So once again, that might be a place where we deploy capital to get the right labor that we need and achieve our end goal, right? So once we solve that constraint, growth is going to continue for a while, right? And after a while, you're going to hit the next phase of growth or progress within your business. And then you're going to run up against the same thing. And you're going to come up against another constraint or bottleneck within your business. And it's typically either going to show up in your process or in your data. So the reason the arrow comes here is because it's usually process first, right? Let's say we scale the thing. Well, something here typically breaks, right? Maybe we get too many clients. Maybe we need to redesign this stuff. Maybe we need to redesign our onboarding or our fulfillment or something to that degree. And that's also going to show up in the data. So really, these two bounce back and forth in terms of, hey, I need to verify that the data is telling me the right thing. I need to identify the problem, and then I need to improve the process or the people working the process to continue the flywheel of growth. And this really, really continues all the way until eternity, or until you decide to, hey, I've grown the business as far as I would like it to. I kind of want to just hang out here and maintain it. Some people love to do that and just run a good lifestyle business that isn't meant to scale to the moon. Other people want to build the business to ultimately exit and sell and get that big payday. It just all comes back down to what you want and what you said in the vision document up here beforehand. But this cycle continues in perpetuity until one of those two things happens. So understand, no matter what business model you pick or what business model you're running, you are always going to have constraints. You are always going to need process to take your inputs and turn it into the ideal outcome, no matter what we're talking about. We're always going to need the right people on those systems. We're always going to need data as a feedback loop to make sure we are making the right moves and solving the right problems so we can actually get to the goals that we set out to in the first place. So that is my operating system on how I've built several million-dollar and multi-million-dollar companies. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Otherwise, a like and a sub would mean the world, and I will see you in the next video.